Thank you guys for coming back and welcome to part 2 for this particular speaking question. So I'm not going to talk too much, it's already taken too long, so let's just get into it right now, part 2 of this speaking question. So again, your notes are not as important as comprehension. Understand first, write second. Understand the passage, understand the definition, then worry about your notes. All right, so make sure you do that first. When you're writing down your notes for the listening, usually the listening is a couple of examples of the reading passage. So for example, swarm intelligence. Probably they'll give one example of ants and how they use swarm intelligence, and then they'll use another example of bees and how they use swarm intelligence. That's very common. Sometimes it's a long example, like for example, the topic I shared before about habit formation. It might be a professor talking about his own habits and giving a long example of a habit he had. That's another type of, format of question number 3. But more common is this type, where they give you a topic and then they will give you 2 examples of it. And this is most common for biology stuff. If there's something about psychology, imagine that it's a story from a professor that's connected to this. Okay, so here are my notes. This is what I'm going to look for, and this is the transcript here. And again, you could see this in the complete test that you can download in the description. But basically, I highlighted the parts that's the example, and then the green is like extra stuff that if I have time, I'll write it down. And it's the same here. That the yellow part about honeybees, they organize in masses of individuals. Okay, that's the topic. And then the green stuff is extra information that I can write down. I'm not going to write down all this. This is a ton of information, okay? I'm just highlighting the important points that you should try to write down. Don't have to write down everything. And here are my notes. Now again, these notes are pretty detailed. You don't have to write it like this. This is just an example. And also remember, I had time to write this out. So don't get too stressed out if you can't write the same notes. Totally understandable, okay? All right, so you can look at this in more detail if you want. You could pause this video, but I'm not going to go into too much with this. But this is just an example of my notes so you can see it. Now when you're preparing your response, this is what you want to do, is that you want to start with the reading. You want to introduce the topic and define it. And then you want to state the first example and talk about it. You want to state the second example and talk about it, and then you have a conclusion. Pretty simple. So here's an example of a question 3 template. You can use this template to answer most speaking question number 3 questions, and I've included the content and the time as well, so you can see about how much time you should have when you talk about each part of your response. And so let me just show you what this looks like in action. That's the best way to kind of figure out how to use this. And I'll just read the first half of this. According to the reading, so I start with the reading, right? So according to the reading, swarm intelligence is when a bunch of different insects of the same species are able to combine and connect their thoughts so hundreds of individuals can think and act as one. In the lecture, the professor delves deeper into this subject by providing 2 examples of swarm intelligence. So now I'm moving from the reading to the listening pretty quickly. To start, the lecture explains that ants use this type of thinking when gathering food. One group of ants will find a way to the food source and release pheromones to mark the trail. Other ants will then follow the pheromone scent. Okay, so I basically say the one example and a couple of sentences about it, a couple of details. Not a lot, but a little bit. All right, so you want to talk about the reading not too long, probably about 20 seconds, at most 30 seconds, and the rest you want to talk about the listening part. The listening is where you kind of bring everything together, so try to talk more about the listening if you took good notes. I know sometimes it's hard to do that. But this is, the ideal, perfect passage. Don't worry if yours isn't the same. I don't expect it to be the same, and neither should you. It's just an example. All right? Now, after you give your response, time to look at your response and give it a grade. So let's look at the tools for actually grading your response. So this is the information from ETS, the company that makes the TOEFL. I've offered a simplified translation of it, but besides the general description, there's 3 grading criteria, which is delivery, language use, and smoothness. Delivery is how confident you are and how natural you sound. Language use is about the vocabulary and grammar you use, and it sounds natural and conversational. And notice how I use the word natural a lot. Really, you want to sound just like you're talking to a friend. Topic development, you have a beginning, middle, end, and you have a story in mind that you're going towards, right? Now, this is not so helpful to help you grade. That's why we provided this checklist as well. I'll run through it really quickly with you that you can use to record your own responses and check them. So definitely record your speaking. Everybody hates their own voice. I know, I hate my own voice. I thought my voice was very deep and cool until I recorded it, and it's not. So record your voice and check it using this checklist. I'll run through it really quickly. Did I speak for 57 to 60 seconds? You don't want to have too much silence, and you don't want to speak over time. You want that kind of sweet spot there, about 58, 59 seconds. Was my introduction 15 seconds or less? Try to keep your introduction short and sweet, to the point. Did I have enough time to include a short conclusion? Yeah, 7 seconds or less. Doesn't have to be very long, and it's not necessary. It's just a nice way to end. It makes you sound like you're confident and comfortable speaking. Did I look at the clock to monitor my time at least twice? Yeah, so you want to look at the clock to make sure that you're not going over time. And one great way to do that is to actually look at the clock. So a lot of students are scared of the clock. The clock is your friend. Take a look at it at least twice. Did I include at least 2 transitional words and phrases? So words like in the reading passage, in the listening passage, according to the lecturer, according to the author, to sum up, in conclusion. These are all transition words that help organize your response. Did I speak at a smooth and even pace for the majority of my response? So you try not to say, okay. Everybody does that. If you say it too much, though, then it sounds like you're not confident and it kind of hurts your score. The next one, number 7, did I speak in a natural and conversational tone? So no robot voice, yeah. Make sure that you don't say, according to the reading passage, blah, 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 according to the listening, blah, blah. You want to sound natural and conversational. According to the reading, according to the listening, try to sound like you're talking to a friend at a coffee shop. Very important. And did you include all the essential, all the important information from the reading and listening? So crucial to make sure that you include everything that they want to hear from both of those passages. And hopefully you have a good idea of how to do that now, at this point. And some 4 last-minute quick tips is speak mostly about the listening. Most of your information should be from the listening passage. So I would say try to speak at least, let's say, 30 seconds, about 30 seconds about the listening passage. And then the second tip is to speak with interest and enthusiasm. Imagine you love this topic. It's your favorite topic. You can't wait to talk about it with everybody. Even though you're probably not that interested in the topic, sound like you are. Because that enthusiasm is going to help you kind of show how natural you feel speaking English. That's very important. And then record your responses. Definitely don't forget to record your responses and judge your responses based on those recordings. It's going to give you a lot of information about your speaking and about your strengths and weaknesses. Don't forget to use the checklist as well. And then last but not least, don't read your notes. So a lot of students, when they take notes, they take good notes and they want to use their notes. But the problem is that they tend to read their notes. And your reading voice is different than your speaking voice. When you're speaking to somebody and looking them in the eye, your voice changes. When you're reading words on a page, it changes. So make sure you try to tap into that experience of looking somebody in the eye and speaking. Okay, so yeah, don't forget, definitely download our complete test somewhere in the description and actually practice these questions at home. Thank you guys so much for staying with me. Again, go to our site, tstprep.com, for more of this kind of TOEFL stuff. Thank you for watching. I appreciate your time. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. All right, take care.